come for a farmer and the way he or she makes a living and prepare for one hell of a fight. Idaho's governor coming face to face with angry East Idaho farmers and their tractors as they look to show him the state's water curtailment laws that he's in favor of ain't going to fly.
I am personally going to look at a $3 million loss if this curtailment continues, and this will end my 135-year family farm legacy of growing potatoes in Idaho.
The order would require 6,400 groundwater rights holders to shut off their water completely, drying up 500,000 acres of agricultural land in eastern Idaho.
Joining us now, Idaho farmer. You might recognize him. He's been on before. Good to see you again, Brian Murdock. Will this show of equipment force do anything to help these farmers hurt by this curtailment?
It's good to be back on, and yes, this will be a massive show of force. What you are seeing, there was over 120 tractors that were basically a 10-minute parade of tractors end to end. That represents $50 million worth of equipment just right there, and that was just a few of us.
So explain to me, what's the argument over right here? Because, from what I could read, you all haven't had a lack of rainfall. You're not in the middle of a drought. And I'm sort of struggling to even understand what the governor is going for.
This is about the aquifer level. The eastern Idaho has an aquifer underneath us. It's actually very large. It's the size of Lake Erie. And yes, there have been impacts on it. And yes, it is lowered down just a bit. And of course, that's what's the fight over, is because they're feeling like we are taking water that would come out of springs that would affect these senior surface water users that have later water rights than we do, or earlier water rights, I guess would be correct. And so this is what's the fight's over between us and them as far as what we're doing to the aquifer. They say we're damaging it. We say, well, the state gave us the right, and it's not damaged nearly as much as what they're saying. We're being held by a water model, and it's a computer-generated model. It's the same thing they, do the weather with, and how accurate's the weather all the time. Because the aquifer is down below the ground, nobody can see it. So this is their way of monitoring it. It's through this model in which we proved it to be inaccurate.
Brian, how much have you suffered? How much have the farmers suffered because of this?
What you're seeing right there in those pictures are farmers who should be doing something else at this critical moment in time. We should be harvesting grain. These farmers, I got to admit, it made me cry. Because they committed to come show the governor this. Instead of going out and doing the work which needs to be done, they came and showed up. They took the time, and they put their crops at risk by doing just this. We should, this is having a massive toll on the East Idaho farmers. We're uncertain. We don't know whether our water is going to be there for next year. We're under this October 1st deadline in which we have to come up with an agreement. The governor today at this luncheon, this is what we joked that we're going to give him an appetizer to his luncheon here by showing him all these tractors. But the governor today said he would continue, and these are his words, to continue to hold a gun to our heads to complete these negotiations. And Frank Vandersloot, who you had on previously, he said in response to that, he said, remember, Governor, we're the ones on the floor on our knees, and it's the other side that's holding the gun. And the government and the Idaho Department of Water Resources are helping them hold this gun. And how fair of negotiations can come out of that? I mean, this isn't how you negotiate.
He might want to hold his tongue with his feet when he looks at those photos of all those farmers and the kids with them, their children, who they're trying to provide for, and all the people in their communities. Brian, it was good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, Brian.
Best of luck to you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Brian Murdock.